Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Julie Jackson from Jackson Nugent Vintners, and I'm going to be taking you through the tasting tonight. We're starting off with the first white wine, the Fume en Travertin, Domaine Henri Bourgeois, 2018/19, because some of you have got the 19 vintage, which literally has just landed. Just to give you a bit of background history about the Bourgeois family, the Bourgeois family have been going for making wine for 10 generations. So they have been working with the vines for a very, very long time. And they're particularly good at making wonderful Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir. The Sauvignon Blanc grape variety loves cool, extreme climates. So the best area for production is the Loire Valley and in the Southern Hemisphere, New Zealand. And Pinot Noir, the red grape variety, also likes lovely, cool, extreme climates. So it works wonderfully well in the Loire Valley, in Burgundy, and again in New Zealand. And in other areas of the Southern Hemisphere, it grows beautifully in some microclimate cool areas. So this is the Fume en Travertin. En Travertin means limestone soil. So the soil is made of limestone, and it produces wines which are minerally, gunflinty, and wonderfully crisp and elegant. The Bourgeois family are established in Sauvignon, which is a tiny village next door to Sancerre, and it's where they make the goat's cheese Crottin de Chavignon. So Sancerre and Fume go wonderfully well with that lovely goat's cheese Crottin. And it is a complete destination. If you ever get to visit by driving through the Loire Valley and visiting all those wonderful chateaux on the way, and then getting to Sancerre and Fume for a well-earned drink, the Bourgeois family own a wonderful tasting room with big glass windows, beautiful wines. One of the sons owns the top restaurant in the little village. He used to work at a Michelin star in Paris, so it serves all the wonderful wines from Bourgeois. They own the golf course. They own a lovely little hotel, a mill, converted mill, which is beautiful to stay in. It's small, but really wonderful. So they are a complete destination point, and I highly recommend it. They are one of the most forward-thinking French families in the wine industry. They were one of the first wineries to put in a gravity-driven winemaking system. So the system is built against the rock. The grapes are put in at the top, and through gravity, they go through into the fermenting vat. So they're hardly touched at all. So the fruit is very fresh, clean, crisp, and elegant. So Fume, gunflinty, fresh, elegant, crisp. So let's have a taste of it, because I'm sure you're waiting for that. It is past 6 o'clock, and well, a well-deserved drink in order. So as you can get on the nose, it's lovely and fresh and crisp. Then when you swill it around your palate, I want you to detect the levels of the fruit and the acidity, that the fruit and the acidity are well balanced. And then when you swallow it, or if you are spitting it out, but I suspect you're not, I want you to see how long it lasts on the end palate. And if it lasts for a long time, it's a sign of a good quality wine. And I think you'll agree with me, this is very fresh. It's got lovely acidity, wonderful elegance, and it really has good longevity on the end palate. It's a fantastic wine if you're sitting outside on a sunny day. I'm afraid today doesn't offer us that, because it's very fresh, it's got lovely acidity. Or equally, it's wonderful with seafood, smoked salmon, fish, cod, sea bream, sea bass, lobsters, crab. It really cuts through the richness of things like crab and lobster. It's absolutely wonderful. The Bourgeois family are recognized as the top producer in Sancerre and Fume. They own 200 hectares, so it's a big vineyard ownership. And the reason they've managed to build up such a large estate is because smaller vineyards, when they have problems with inheritance, have actually offered the Bourgeois family to buy their land. So they've actually grown organically. So they're one of the largest producers there. They've had fantastic vintages. The last 3 or 4 vintages have been absolutely wonderful. because global warming has been very kind to these northerly climates. It's enabled them to make wines which are very lovely and rich and elegant, very fruit driven, because the grapes have got riper because of the better weather, the sunshine. So he is making wonderful wine. They've also bought an estate in Marlborough in New Zealand, because they are, in my view, the kings of Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir. And they're making a wonderful wine called Clos Henri, which has beaten Cloudy Bay in all the decanter awards, has been highly recommended by Wine Spectator, as has their Sancerre and Fume. So they are definitely one of the best producers in the area. And they are magical with the Sauvignon Blanc grape and the Pinot Noir grape. So I hope you like this. Are there any questions? You can, Simon, to unmute. Or you can unmute yourselves.
Yeah.
Julie, I was really impressed with the length on the palate. It's got wonderful mouthfeel for quite a, you know, this style of wine. It's really nice.
Very rich, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they do make very, very high quality Fume. It's absolutely wonderful. It's so rich. It really stays on the end palate. It's absolutely fantastic. That's the key to their wines. A lot of producers in Sancerre and Fume make very acidic wines, and they don't have that lovely longevity that the Bourgeois family have.
Thank you.
In my view, they aren't the most inexpensive wines, but they definitely make some of the best quality wines in the region, and they go up to very high qualities. They make wonderful wines like Etienne Henri, Sancerre Danton, Jadis, where they're using a bit of oak on when they make the wine. And the only people I've experienced this with is Sancerre and Fume La Demoiselle and Danton and the Etienne Henri, the top ones, which you can actually drink at 8 to 10 years old, which is very rare for Sancerre, because normally you think of drinking Sancerre and Fume as a youthful wine, which this level you do, but when you get to their top wines, the older vintages are absolutely fantastic, and you can leave them for about 10 to 15 years. They're absolutely wonderful. So they do make outstanding quality.
Julie, we don't seem to have any prices against any of these. Are you able to tell us?
I can give you, I don't know whether Simon will allow me to give prices.
Of course, yes, carry on, please.
Okay, brilliant. The prices are of this one, it's between 11 to 15 pounds.
All right. Okay.
From us, it's 11. If you go to a retail shop, it's a bit higher.
Well worth it.
Yes, it is. It's very good, isn't it?
Is that for the half bottle or the full, or a bottle?
That's a bottle.
Right, it's good value.
Yes, no, that's for a bottle. I'm talking bottle price. I haven't given you the half bottle prices now. I'm talking bottles.
Julie, just on the age, you were talking about how you could keep the good ones for sort of 10 years. This is a 2018. Is that the sort of ideal time to drink this couple of years, or would you keep it in longer?
At this level, you would drink it within 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. The ones that I say keep for 10 years to 15 years is their top ones, like Etienne Henri or Jadis or Danton, where he's used a bit of oak aging on them, and they're made in very limited quantities,
Right.
and they can sustain aging for that long. But this level, I would recommend drinking between 3 to 4 years max, ideally between 2 to 3 years.
It's very nice indeed. I'm not normally a huge sort of Fume fan, but it's really superb. It's so well balanced, as you said.
It is. It's got lovely fruit on it. They've had wonderful years in 18 and 19. They've had fantastic years. I tasted their 19 because we've literally just shipped the 19, and it was outstanding. But the 18 is equally as good. They've had very, very good vintages. They've been very lucky because they're getting this warmer weather, so they're getting very ripe fruit. So you're getting this lovely depth and richness to the wines. But it doesn't take, they're not flabby. It's not taking away from the acidity. So what they've majored on is they've majored on the lovely fruit drive, which you do get from the warmer climate and the sunshine they're having, but they are also keeping that lovely acidity and elegance.
So I wanted to ask what the difference is that why some wines age and some don't from the same sort of producers. I'm very unknowledgeable about wine.
Well, the top wines, Etienne Henri and Jadis and Danton, they pick them, they're sites which are right at the top of the hill. So they're premium sites, so they get more sunshine. So they're producing a higher level of sugar, a higher level of complexity. And with those wines, because they've got more fruit drive, he can use a small amount of oak in the aging, and then the oak gives them more longevity. So that's how they get the better levels.
How do they use the oak? Is it the barrel that it's stored in, or
the barrel? Yes, they ferment it in the oak.
And then the other ones get fermented in a metal
stainless steel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stainless steel vat. This has been fermented in a stainless steel vat. I know they sound incredibly unsexy, stainless steel vats, but actually they're very good for fruit-driven wines which are not matured in oak, because they're very clean. In the old days, when I'm talking quite a long time ago now, 60, 70 years ago, they didn't have stainless steel vats. So they used to use very large oak vats. And obviously the hygiene of that is much more difficult to control. The control of the heat while it's fermenting is very difficult to control. They used to have to put in blocks of ice. So that's why in those days they used to have vintages which were completely ruined because they couldn't control it as well. Whereas stainless steel, although not so romantic, has this system going around the outside, coils going around the outside, where they put in freezing brine, which keeps the juice of the white wine nice and cool. So it keeps this lovely freshness.
Okay. And
they have a lot better control. So nowadays it is difficult, unless you're a very bad winemaker, to make bad wine. And there are still bad wines out there, and I always can't believe they can have this problem, because there's so much good equipment now that can prevent it.
Julie,
thank you.
We're drinking the 19.
You've got the 19, yes, which is literally the one we've just shipped.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful, isn't it? I tasted it last week.
Nice. But would it benefit from being kept for a year or two or not? Or drink
you can drink it now. It's very, the 19, I was amazed how fruit driven it was. There's no sharp acidity on it at all. It's absolutely beautifully balanced. So you can definitely drink it now. In fact, I think it's drinking incredibly well.
Well, we agree.
Good. I'm sorry that there was an overlap of vintages, but so many people applied to the National Liberal Club tasting, more than we anticipated, that we shipped it very quickly, because we have a limited amount of half bottles, obviously, because they're not as easy to sell as full bottles. Are there any other questions? Well, you all look as though you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So the next wine we're going to go to is the Chablis Laroche. And again, the Laroche family have been making wine for 10 generations. They're at the top in the northernmost part of Burgundy. So actually on the radar, pretty close to Sancerre and Pouilly. So again, a very, very northerly climate. But here you're looking at a different grape variety. The white grape variety grown here is the Chardonnay grape variety, and the red, the Pinot Noir. So you're looking at Chardonnay, and lots of people say they don't like Chardonnay, but they always think of those big Southern Hemisphere over oak Chardonnays that came out from the Southern Hemisphere, too hot, too big, and too fat. And they forget that some of the best wines in the world are made from that wonderful grape, the Chardonnay grape. And these run through Burgundy, through Merceau, Chassagne-Montrachet, Pouilly-Montrachet. So you're talking about the most expensive wines in the world, and made by the Chardonnay grape. Personally, I love the Chardonnay grape. It's my favorite white grape. And I think it has so many levels of difference in style, which is what makes it so interesting. And so we're looking at Chablis, where the soil is Kimmeridge clay. So it's a base of prehistoric oyster shells. And you definitely get that minerality coming through on the flavor of it. Laroche, as an estate, they love to keep that minerality. They don't mess around with it at all. They look at purity and elegance. And Michel Laroche has always been at the forefront of the Chablis area. As you'll see from the bottle, he's got his logo, which is the eye, the appearance of the wine, the nose, which is the smell, and then the mouth, which is the taste of the wine. And that is his logo. And Michel Laroche was very ambitious. He actually ended up buying 4 estates. He bought one in Chile, one in South Africa, Lavinier, and one in the south of France called Mas-la-Chevalier, along with his Chablis, Domaine Laroche. He actually sold out to Advini, which is a very big Languedoc producer, about 5 years ago. But they have maintained Laroche as it was when he was running it. So they haven't done anything different at all. And it's still based, if you go to Chablis, they are based in the Oberdensary, which is an old monastery opposite the church. And Chablis is a very, very pretty little village, very old and beautiful. And they also have a mill where you can stay at. So you could go from Henri Bourgeois' mill in Sancerre and Fume and drink wonderful wines, and then drive on down through to Chablis, which is not a million miles away, and stay in Laroche's mill and have wonderful Chardonnays, Chablis Premier Cru, Grand Cru, Chablis, Straight Chablis, which this one is. So I think you've got a good trip set up, and then you can go on all the way through and taste wonderful Chardonnays from Pouilly, Corton Charlemagne, and Merceau, right down to Beaujolais. So let's taste this wine. Clear and bright on the appearance. A more slightly butterier nose, which is very classic of the Chardonnay grape. Rounded, fresh, clean, minerally. As Michel Laroche used to describe it, it's like minerals flowing off a great big granite stone. And I think it's a wonderful description of Chablis, particularly his Chablis. And he again makes all different levels. He makes wonderful Premier Crus, wonderful Grand Crus. And he also, his Grand Crus, he does a small amount of oak aging, like the Bourgeois family. And again, this is all dependent on the site of the vineyard. The top vineyards, the Grand Cru vineyards, are situated at the top of the hill where they get maximum sunlight, and then below them are the Premier Crus, and then the straight Chablis. He has one little cuvée called Saint-Martin, which is just below the Premier Crus, and that was named after the patron saint of Chablis, and it's very, very similar to the level of his Premier Crus. But he's a wonderful winemaker, and Advini have continued the level of quality that Michel Laroche founded. He was one of the first advocates in France for the screw cap, and he actually got huge press coverage. He put his Grand Cru Chablis in screw caps, and when I visited him about 8-10 years ago, I was very much the top wines went into cork, but he actually proved to me that screw cap, the joy of screw cap is that when they bottle the wine, it will stay as they bottled it. So on his Grand Crus, when people open it 20 years down the line, which Grand Crus can be kept for, they will be getting what he put in the bottle 20 years previously. Whereas with the cork, you get more variation because you get a bit more oxidation. And you have, unfortunately, the situation where you might get a corked wine. So again, this is wonderful. I remember having oysters with Michel Laroche from northern France, from Brittany. It's wonderful with seafood, fish, crab, lobster, oysters. But it's definitely got that roundness to it. It's got that softness, which is very classic of the Chardonnay grape. Whereas the Sauvignon Blanc grape has more acidity, more freshness, more zip. Does everybody like this? This is a similar price to the Sancerre, so it's about £10 a bottle. Are there any questions?
Julie, just to say, there've only ever been two women Lord Mayors of London, and the last one was known to be very enthusiastic about Chablis. And on the day in which she was installed as Lord Mayor, she'd been up at God knows what hours in the morning, and she'd been in her carriage drive and waved to everybody. And in the evening, she was invited to Charterhouse, where these little chaps from Chablis in their little leather overalls appeared to install her as a significant person in the order of the Chablisiens. And she had my undying admiration, because late at night, part of the initiation was she was handed what looked like a pint of Chablis, and she had to drink this. And she gave a very charming speech in French, and then she downed this pint of Chablis. And I thought, ye gods, woman, you've been up since 4 in the morning, and it's now sort of 11 o'clock at night, and you're downing a pint of Chablis. She was a very worthy Lord Mayor of London, I think.
It sounds like, what's her name, Fiona?
Fiona Woolf, yes.
Yes, I've met her.
Have you? Well, she's passionate about Chablis.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, she's very nice.
Yes.
I was going to say that Diana was at school with Fiona Woolf, and maybe in Edinburgh, maybe that's where she'll
Where she learned to drink pints of Chablis.
Yes.
I think she has very good taste. It's a lot better than pints of beer.
Yes. Oh.
Are there any other questions?
Just a comment, Julie. I was expecting perhaps something a little more steely, a little more acid, basically. That's sort of how I prefer my Chablis. I hope I'm not sounding too uncouth.
No, not at all. I think you'll find it's because of the global warming, basically, because they're getting warmer climatic conditions. I actually prefer a more fruit-driven, richer Chablis myself, but that's just personal taste and everybody's different. But because they are getting more warmth in these Northern Hemisphere climates, they are not producing that really steely Chablis style. They are producing Chablis which are slightly rounder and richer. And that's really the cause of global warming, basically. They're not getting that really, they're not as, what I would call, very, very acidic. They're not getting that really acidic style.
Thank you.
Julie,
it's all down to global warming.
Julie, what is Brexit going to do for your business?
Oh, that's a horrible question.
I had to ask.
Great things. Combined with COVID and Brexit, we're not very happy. I think that well, if he doesn't get a deal, then there will be taxes that we will have to add to the prices. So obviously the price of wine will go up. If he gets a trade deal, then we're very happy. So we're hoping that he will get a trade deal, basically. Otherwise, it's not great. Well, the prices will go up, basically.
But hopefully,
and there's nothing we can do about that. We have to hand that on. So everybody gets affected. To the end consumer gets affected.
Well, presumably, with the aforementioned global warming, how do you feel like the British wine producers are going?
Oh, it's really helped the British wine.
Well,
really
exactly, yeah.
Because they had I didn't really like very many of the wines that I used to taste, the English wines that I used to taste, but they are getting a lot better because they are very helped by the global warming, actually.
Obviously.
They used to have very, very acidic, almost astringent wines, but now they're getting much fruitier and much better quality. So it is helping the English wine industry a lot.
Obviously, you've got the same terroir coming up from the same line of chalk from
Belanita Quadrata from Champagne, yes.
Yeah.
England is very, very good for sparkling wine. Very good. I mean, that's what I rate England for.
Yeah.
They are good for some white wines. Reds are very difficult, and there's the odd Pinot Noir, which is good. But sparkling wine, they really are very good.
So again, for the uninformed person, why is red wine so hard to grow here?
Because red wine needs more heat. It needs more warmth. The only grape varieties that really grow, well, one grape variety that grows really well in cool climates is Pinot Noir. So England could produce Pinot Noir, but Pinot Noir is an incredibly difficult grape to grow. It's one of the most challenging. So even with the right climate, it's still very challenging because it's got very thin skins. It needs a lot of management. But potentially England could produce very good Pinot Noirs, and there are some good Pinot Noirs in England. I mean, not many people grow it because it's a tricky grape variety to grow, but the ones that do, and they obviously grow it for champagne and sparkling wine, they use it for, but not many of them actually make Pinot Noir. There's a few though, and they are actually very good, but they're very expensive.
So where are they growing that? Which is it just anywhere in the southern England?
Well, the good places are actually the south coast. Sussex is very good. Kent is very good. I mean, they are growing it all. They do grow vines all over England, but probably the best areas are Kent and Sussex and the coast. Cornwall's good.
We produce some good wine on the Isle of Wight, very good sparkling wine from Adjuston Vineyard, if you've heard from that, which is on the site of Roman Villa.
Wight would be good.
Yeah, there's a Roman Villa there.
Would be good because that's sort of similar to the south coast. Yes.
Yeah, there's a Roman Villa, and it is rumoured that the Romans actually produced wine there back 2,000 years ago. So
they probably did. We're new to the game compared to that.
Yeah, indeed.
Have you been picking in your garden this afternoon, Tim?
No, I'm not. I'm actually in London, rather than the Isle of Wight today. But my neighbour does grow grapes, and they grow quite well. So we've got a bit of a microclimate. So look out this space. I say the sparkling wine. They do produce a passable red from a Canadian grape, and I can't remember the name of it. It's not Pinot Noir, but it looks quite a solid looking red. It's, but I can't remember what the grape is.
Because the English vineyards tend to use, for their still wines, they tend to use a lot of the Germanic hybrids, which personally I don't like very much. But that's a personal taste. So Bacchus can be quite good, but some of them are Silvaner and some of them are not as nice. And I think now that the climate's getting better, they will start to use more mainstream grape varieties like Sauvignon and Chardonnay and some of the more mainstream grapes. Are there any other questions? So we go on to the third white wine, the Casa Silva Chardonnay, which is from Chile. My Chileans have been established since 1892. They own 1,000 hectares in the Colchagua Valley, which is 2 hours south of Santiago, the capital of Chile. And it's an absolutely beautiful area. A bit further to travel, you can't tag it onto a Loire and Burgundy trip. But it is well worth a destination visit because it's surrounded by the Andes Mountains. The vineyards are absolutely beautiful. And the advantage they have is the Andes Mountains gives lovely cool breezes during the night. So it keeps the wines very elegant because the grapes have a chance to cool down at night time. And then in the daytime, they get all the lovely warmth from the sunshine. The Silva family, we tend to work with family estates. The Silva family is again a family estate run by the 5 brothers. Mario Pablo is the managing director, and then his other brothers, one does the interior design because they also have a hotel on the vineyard, and they also have many properties as well apart from the main one at Casa Silva. The others help in the vineyard and with the winemaking, so it's very, very much a family setup. And you'll notice that they like to support everything Chilean. On the bottle, the label is in copper inlay, and the main production in Chile is copper, as you probably remember the copper mines. So they like to be all that is Chilean and support everything Chilean. We started working with the Silva family 25 years ago. And at that point, they were actually selling their grapes to Santa Rita. So they were selling in bulk, but then they decided that they had some of the best vineyards in Chile and that they'd bottle it in-house and make their own wines, which is what they've done. And they have won every award under the sun. They've won Best South American Producer, Best Carmenere Producer. They consistently win gold medals for all their wines. So they do make absolutely outstanding quality. And the Colchagua Valley is known as the Rothschild Valley. It's the area where the Rothschild family invested as well. So it is known as the best area for wine production in Chile. And the Silva family are very forward thinking, because I remember when Mario Pablo kept saying to me, Julia, we're going to crack that great Pinot Noir. We're going to make good Pinot Noir. And he kept sending me bottles. And I kept thinking, no, you haven't got it right yet, because I love Pinot Noir. Anyway, they bought this little vineyard called Paradones, which is next to the Pacific. And I visited it, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a small vineyard, but you get all of the Pacific breezes coming in, and it's literally a 10-minute drive down to the Pacific Ocean, which is absolutely beautiful. Just yards and miles of unspot beaches and lovely rolling Pacific waves. It's absolutely stunning. And there they do make the most fabulous Sauvignon Gris, Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir. So he's cracked it at last. This is Chardonnay, so a newer Chardonnay. So it's nice to see the contrast between the Chablis. It's been aged in French oak for 4 months. Only a portion of it, and then the remainder was in stainless steel, and then they've blended it together. You're looking at a different price point. You're looking at about £7 a bottle, so it's not a high price point. It's what we call, we use it as an entry level or a house wine, but I do think it's very, very elegant. So 75% of this in stainless steel, and the remainder in French oak for 4 months. So it's very buttery. You get slight hints of the toastiness from the oak.
Julie, it's 14% vol. Isn't that quite unusual for a white wine?
Not from the Southern Hemisphere, no.
Oh, not for, oh, right, okay.
No, because with the sunshine, obviously, the sugar levels get higher. So the more sunshine you have, the higher sugar levels you get in the grape. And then the sugar converts to alcohol. So in the Southern Hemisphere, 14% is not unusual. In the Northern Hemisphere, Chablis, you tend to be about 12.5 to 13%. The alcohols are going up in the Northern Hemisphere now as well, because we've had such good weather. So you are getting higher alcohol levels, but you're tending to be, Sancerre is between 12.5 to 13 now. So in the Southern Hemisphere, 14 isn't that high actually. But I think it's a lovely wine. It's a lovely everyday wine, and you could have it with barbecue, lovely prawns on the barbecue. Just an everyday, just sipping wine. I think it's very, very good quality. What does everybody think?
Really outstanding wine. I mean, I was surprised because I like white Burgundies, and the French white Burgundy was, as I expected, sort of buttery and this surprised me really. I've never drunken. It's already been up 3 half bottles. I've never drunk a Chardonnay from Chile, and I think this is exceptional. Really exceptional.
It is very good. It was selected by, there's a very good wine writer. You probably may have read him. He's in the Telegraph, Hamish Anderson, but he's also the chief executive of catering and wine at the Tate. And he selected this wine for the Tate Modern to be served in their restaurant at the top as a pouring wine. It's extremely good. It's very, very good quality. And the price point is such a good deal. I mean, £7, you can't go wrong.
You are joking. £7 a bottle.
Yes. Well, from us. The retailer.
Yeah, I've got your email. I'm fine, thanks. This is a really unexpectedly. This is so far the unexpected wine of the evening.
Oh well, thank you.
And we're having it with some Comte, which really does.
Delicious Comte cheese, yes, delicious.
Yeah, with this.
And actually, when you combine there's almost and I know this is crazy to say, but I almost get a bit of sweetness at the back end of the taste.
Yes.
With the food.
Yes.
Only with the food. It's less tart than the previous one, for obvious reasons.
It would go very well with Conte because because Conte is quite rich, so the Chardonnay would stand up to it.
Yeah.
It's an excellent £7 a bottle.
Such a deal.
Julie, may I say that I agree with Sir Stuart. I think we're onto a good wine here. Did we taste it when you came into the club, or is there a wine?
I tried to. We did a comparative. The club, we did the comparative tasting of grape varieties.
Mm.
No, I don't think we did. No.
We've been looking for a non-French Chardonnay for the list. This seems to me to be.
Oh, I put it. Yeah, for that tasting, yes, I put it in.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether you've tasted yet.
Yeah, well, perhaps I don't think it was selected, but I'm sold on it.
Oh, good. Well, I didn't hear it was selected, so I assume it wasn't. But no, I did put it in. I thought you meant tasting.
It was very difficult because we were avoiding having anything that tasted like a French Chardonnay.
No, I definitely put it into that tasting. Definitely did.
And but I think, you know, I mean, this is if the club isn't going to buy it, I think I will.
Brilliant. Well, that's good. Any other questions on the whites? So we're going to move on to the reds. Has everybody got their reds?
They're at hand.
We're going to start with the first one, the Château Cantenac, 2016. Just going to pour mine. Grand Cru Saint Emilion. Has everybody got one in the some in the glass? Is everybody ready with their red?
I wonder if you might just give us just 1 or 2 more moments. Because this is number 4, and I don't know if it's 7 o'clock.
Yeah, we still have some Comte here as well.
I love Conte. Is my favourite.
We can't just hand it over, though. I'm terribly sorry.
Could you just hand it over? It would be extremely helpful.
Promise a bit through the computer.
We've got the same sheet here as well. We've got the Conte.
Oh, you got the Conte as well. I love Conte.
He's only from the same.
Whilst there's a brief pause, I on your very first wine, I actually stayed in Sauvignon 2 or 3 years ago. And you probably know that the Sauvignon goat's cheese do 3 different types, the jaune, the blut and the bleu.
Right.
And wine complements the jaune perfectly.
Yeah.
I couldn't get myself off mute to say that, but I didn't eat at the Michelin. I ate at the local loggie because that was my
No, it's not a Michelin. His restaurant in Chavignon isn't a Michelin. He trained at a Michelin in Paris.
Okay.
But his restaurant in Chavignon isn't a Michelin. But it's the same level, but it's not a Michelin.
Okay. I didn't mean to take the tasting back. Sorry, I just sort of.
I forgot there were 3 types of crottin. I didn't know that. I was probably told that when I was there, but I had so many glasses of Sancerre and Pouilly, I forgot.
I'm amazed I remember, actually.
But I'm glad to know there are 3 types of crottin, because I love the crottin de Chavignon. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
So has everybody got their red set up?
Yep.
Brilliant. So we're going to start with Château Cantenac, Grand Cru Saint Emilion, 2016. It's made by the Roscambrunno family, and it's run by Nicole Roscambrunno, which is the mother, the maman, and she has her sons which work with her, and I deal with Johan, who is absolutely charming. They own a wonderful 19-hectare vineyard west of Saint Emilion, west of the little village. Saint Emilion is on the right bank, so it's a clay soil, and it's where they produce predominantly the grape variety Merlot. But they, with all Bordeaux, Saint Emilion and Medoc wines, they always blend the grapes. But with the Saint Emilion wines, they have a higher percentage of the Merlot grape. So this is 75% Merlot and 25% Cabernet Franc, and their vines are between 40 to 60 years old. It's been aged in French oak. 40% of it was new oak for 20 months, sorry. So it's very rich, it's very full-bodied, and what I want you to look at on a red wine is the depth of the colour, It's got wonderful color extraction. When it's a young wine, it's purpley. Then as it matures, it becomes more orangey and then brown. So this is a 16 vintage. So it's an older vintage, and you can begin to see the maturity coming off. And they use new oak. And the difference between new oak and 1 and 2 year old oak, new oak gives that lovely vanilla-y flavour because it's brand new, so you get that lovely newness on the nose. 1 and 2 year old oak doesn't give so much oak flavour to the wine. This definitely needs your lovely cheese. It's wonderfully rich. It's got that lovely plummy, chocolatey style, which is classic of the Merlot grape. It's got fantastic structure. 2016 was a really classic vintage. It wasn't as hot as some of the vintages, but I love it because it's got that really lovely Bordeaux style. It's not as big and heavy and concentrated, but it's got that lovely restraint, which is very classic of the 16 vintage, which is a wonderful vintage. I think this is absolutely fabulous wine. What does everybody think of this wine?
Very nice, Julie.
There's a very lot going on. It's very good indeed. There's a lot going on with that flavour.
It's very complex, isn't it?
I think
then we get that lovely complexity.
So soft.
The tannins are really nice and soft and velvet. Yes. There's almost a velvet kind of taste to this wine. It's we're having it with cheddar, by the way. Just
we switched to cheddar.
Oh, brilliant. Cheddar's quite powerful, actually. So if it stands up to cheddar, I think cheddar's quite a powerful cheese. But I just think this is fabulous. It's really, really. It is velvety, actually. It's velvety, rich, concentrated. It's absolutely wonderful.
Oh, shameful thing to say.
Gorgeous. Works well with Manchego.
Manchega's lovely. I love Manchega. Gosh, you're making me feel hungry. We've got no cheese here, apart from cheddar.
I think you probably shouldn't drink too much.
It will definitely keep.
But it's lovely.
I think this is a fabulous wine, this. It's very, very good, isn't it?
But it could make you quite drunk quite quickly.
Imagine it with a wonderful big steak. It would go really well with casseroles, steak. A beautiful wine. I think it's stunning. It's beautifully balanced. It's very rich. It's elegant. It's got that lovely vanilla-y style coming over from new French oak.
Fantastic. I'm guessing this isn't £11 a bottle.
Can you give us the bad?
This is about £16 a bottle.
Oh, it's not bad.
You could afford that.
I think for a future event, it's clearly we need to have a recommended cheese list to go with the wine. Or maybe it should be a cheese and wine tasting.
Well, actually, Jonathan has asked me to do. He's asked me to do a cheese and wine Christmas tasting with your cheese supplier. Maybe Simon doesn't know about this.
I'd heard rumours.
And you've heard rumours. So I'm quite happy that I think that's a very, very good option, because basically what I can do is work with the cheese supplier, and we can do 4 wines, red wines predominantly, maybe a couple of whites and a couple of reds, and then work with his cheeses, and he does the talk on the cheese and I do the talk on the wine for Christmas.
So who's your cheese supplier then?
So, I don't know, Simon's, I think Foreman.
Several, actually. I'm not sure which one Jonathan's approaching to.
I think he said Foreman.
Foreman's. No, they're smoked salmon, I think.
Oh, they're smoked salmon. He didn't mention the cheese. He smoked salmon. It was either that or fizz and smoked salmon. That was another idea.
Okay. Paxton and Whitfield, perhaps.
Paxton
They're a very honourable cheese,
absolutely.
Ancient cheese.
They are fantastic. I don't know if they do commercial supply there. I think they tend to be more shops, retail shops, aren't they? But they may do, I don't know. But Paxton and Whitfield
Harvey and Brockless are our main cheese supplier. I suspect he's asking them.
Oh, right, brilliant. But it's a fantastic idea to do for Christmas, to do a cheese and wine tasting.
Okay.
Or a fizz and white wine and smoked salmon tasting.
This is very good. I'm very impressed. I'm actually very impressed by all the wines. They're extraordinarily good. But how long would you expect to age this for? It tastes quite young to me.
Yes, oh, this one you could carry on for another 10 years. It would carry on.
Yeah. Do you think
it is still quite young? But
do you think we're doing it too young?
No, it's not too young, I don't think, at the moment, because it's got lovely fruit. But it would carry on for another 10 years.
I think it's extraordinary.
I have to ask, why is it that white wine doesn't age as well as red wine?
Well, the top white wines do age as well, because if you have a really good Pouilly or Merceau or Colchagua, top white Burgundies, then they age for at least 10, 20 years.
Right.
So the top ones do age as well.
But why is it that red tends
red wines tend to be the Cabernet Sauvignon, the Merlot grape, the red grapes. They tend to have more tannin, and the oak aging and the tannin and the structure enables red wines to age longer than white wines.
On a trip to Saint Emilion, I recall that some wine was stored initially in concrete vats. Is that right, or is that?
Yes, yes, they still use concrete vats actually. The Roscoe Brunet family don't. They use barrels and stainless steel, but some of the older generation Saint Emilion producers do use large concrete vats.
Okay, interesting concept.
Large concrete vats are still good because they as long as they're cleaned properly, they're still very hygienic.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
But I mean, the larger producers, the more modern producers now are tending to use stainless steel and oak barrels.
But you're very strong on the Italian, aren't you? Or not? Is your interest?
Are there any more questions? The next one we're going to look at, which actually probably should have been done first, I will put it first, but it's actually also very good. It's a Lussac Saint Emilion, so Château Haut Piquat. This is from a family, the Rivier family, who owns 7 chateaux in Saint Emilion. They own a very good Grand Cru Saint Emilion as well, called Clos de Menu, which we also ship. And we're on the 2015 vintage of that, and it's extremely good. They own chateaux in the Grave, and they own this little chateau, which is a satellite Saint Emilion, Lussac Saint Emilion, Château Haut Piquat. It's a 2014 vintage. It's a 22-hectare vineyard, and one of the sons lives on it, Jean-Pierre Rivier, and he's just done it up, and it's the most beautiful chateau to visit. It's absolutely stunning. The Rivier family, we've been working with for about 25 years, and they are one of the most understated families you will ever meet. They own the largest monolithic cellars actually in Saint Emilion itself, so huge tunnels that they own under the little village of Saint Emilion. They also owned the hotel, which they've now just sold to the owner of Chateau Pavé, who's very wealthy, and they sold it for a lot of money, but they used to own that as well. So they own a large chunk of the village of Saint Emilion. So much so that when I was there last summer, I walked past this shop and it had all their wines in the window. And I didn't realize it was their shop. So I said to them, "Oh, wow, you've done well here. You've sold them all your wines." And they said, "No, it's our shop, Julie." So I didn't realize. So they are a wonderful family. They're totally, totally understated, and they make fabulous wines. And this wine, it's 75% Merlot, 20% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 5% Cabernet Franc. And it's been matured in French oak for 18 months, and a third of the barrels are new oak barrels. They also do green harvesting, which means they take off any berries that aren't ripening or any extra leaves in July. So it allows more sunshine, and the good berries and the good vines to dig deeper for nutrition, so they get richer and more full-bodied. They also, when there was a big craze in Saint-Emilion and Bordeaux, when the New World wines were making a big impact, to do micro-oxygenation, which is inserting oxygen balls during fermentation to bring out the flavors, to make them more full-bodied. And the Riviere family never agreed to that, and they never did it. They stayed to classic winemaking. And since then, the winemakers out in Bordeaux have decided it's not a good idea, so they were actually correct never to do it. So they've remained true to their roots. They make fabulous wines. In this little chateau, compared to the first one, it's only £8 a bottle. It's incredibly good value and very well made. The Riviere family never overprice their wines. I always am amazed. I mean, our Grand Cru Saint-Emilion from them is only £14 a bottle. It's such good value, and they do make extremely good wines. So let's taste this little chateau.
Open approach is what we're always intended to trade anyway.
Now 2014 is again not a really hot vintage, so it's again very structured, very classic. I think this is a wonderful wine, and for £8 a bottle it's such good value. It might be £9 a bottle actually, I might have got it wrong. It's £9. What does everybody think of this? It's a level below the Grand Cru that you first tasted.
I'm not getting anything from this really. This one for me on the 5 that we've done is. I can't get any bite from it. I can't get any.
Really active on the wine.
I can't get much from it.
Okay.
I would give this pop into the supermarket, buy a bottle of wine, drink watching something crappy on TV.
Okay, fair enough.
I think you were very honest. I think this should have been the first of the red tasting.
Yes, I'm going to change. I'm going to swap it round actually.
Yeah.
I just don't get much from it. I don't get much from the nose or from the palate.
So would you say it's suitable for watching a documentary about cheese?
What you mean? You might get a bit bored watching a documentary on cheese.
I think devil's advocate.
Pressing some Stilton.
Yeah, no, okay, I resign from whatever. But I think I'm just not getting much. Anyway, I'll turn off now. Otherwise,
you don't want to be too rude. I get the picture.
It does have a slightly sharper taste, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. After the Cantenac, we were a bit spoiled. I'm going to swap them round on the next tasting.
Really, I think this one is fabulous.
I think it's very good quality for its level of Saint-Emilion, and I think it's incredibly good value. If you look at it, it's only £2 above a house wine level, and I just think it's such good value.
Well, we had 12 bottles from you, Julie, during lockdown, and we just ordered another 12 bottles. And we really like it. It's a very smooth.
I like it.
Easy to drink it. Yes.
Julie, I think it's as you said, it's quite classic. And what I'm struck by is the tannins, and I just wondered whether those will soften a bit, or how do you think it will?
Yes, no, it will carry on improving this wine. It's not up to its full potential. It'll definitely carry. I mean, I've just finished using the 2010 of this wine, so it will definitely carry on improving.
How long? Not muted. Julie, can I ask, is there a difference in the relative proportions of Merlot and Cabernet between the two wines? This one tastes more structured. I don't know.
My goodness. Carrie? Oh. Hello? Carrie? I've been clicked off. Carrie?
I think there's a technology problem. I was wondering whether this wine has more Cabernet because it feels a little more.
It's gone off completely. Let's just see at the bottom. Okay, here. Yeah. I'm back. Sorry,
can
my
hear you.
technician had gone out of the room. I had to call her.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Could you hear me saying, Carrie?
What was the price of this one, Julie?
This is £9 a bottle.
Good.
Actually, I had a question. I had a question as to whether there's a difference in the proportions of Merlot and Cabernet between the two wines.
This one is 75%, and they're both the same.
Both the same, are they?
Yes.
Because this tastes, to me, this tastes more structured, and the other one tastes a bit more fruity. But that's not the reason, obviously.
No, I mean the other Grand Cru Saint-Emilion is the site of the vineyard, so it's a bit richer and a bit plummier.
Yeah.
Whereas Lussac hasn't got such a good vineyard site, so it's not as rich and plummy.
I think this is very nice. People don't like it. I think it's lovely. I think the other one's superb, and I think this is very nice. So I wouldn't diss it at all.
I think it's very good, this Haut Piquat. I love it. I think it's because it's only eight to £9, whereas you're looking at the other one, which is £14 to £16.
You get almost twice the wine for your money with this one.
You get you get more bang for your bucks.
You absolutely do.
How long will this one last as a wine?
Oh, this will last for another good 4 to 5 years.
I mean, I think Sir Stuart's been a bit spoiled. That's the trouble, really. This is all right.
Well, to be honest, if you're looking at the Cantenac against it, it's probably not very fair because the Cantenac's 50
listen, John, I'm better on the previous one.
Yeah, you've got used to. I always compare wine.
I rest my case.
I always compare wine to like buying good shoes, and once you've got up to the top, it's difficult to go back.
Yeah, you're right. This one should have been earlier on.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the other way round actually.
Because,
but
you know, it's £9 and I'm not buying it.
I promise to keep him under control.
Yeah, sorry, I'm
He's getting vocal.
I think traditionally you're meant to start with the best wine, aren't you? So
No, you're meant to start with the lesser quality, actually, but it was in your list, and so I didn't want to mess it around, basically. So, I'm going to change it round.
Yeah. Well, no, I think your order was correct, actually.
Well, we have.
Oh, you prefer starting with the best one and then going?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say
the final one actually is the most reasonably priced. It's Casa Silva Cabernet Sauvignon from Chile, from Casa Silva. So this is 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. In Bordeaux, they can't make 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. They can only make 100% Cabernet in the southern hemisphere because they get much more sunshine and warmth. So that softens the fruit, makes the fruit riper, and then you get a much richer fruit base. Whereas in the Bordeaux and the Medoc, if they made 100% Cabernet Sauvignon, it would be very tannic because the fruit wouldn't get as ripe. So in the Southern Hemisphere, they can make 100% Cabernet. And Chilean Cabernet is very good for your health. It stops heart attacks. It keeps you healthy. And it's wonderfully blackcurranty. It's an absolutely fantastic wine, and Colchagua Valley is the best area for the Cabernet Sauvignon grape. It's a wonderful area. And the lovely thing about the Silva family is they make entry level, Reserva level, and then they go up to Grand Terroir. So they've done their own. In France, they have the appellation system. In Chile, Casa Silva has done their own appellation system. So they've made their levels, the Grand Terroir, and then put the name of the actual vineyard site. So the Cabernet Sauvignon Grand Terroir is Los Linguis, which is where the best Cabernet comes from. And then they've gone one level above that, where they've actually named the plot. So they've got a Cabernet Sauvignon called S38. And then they've gone a level above that, where they've made a Bordeaux blend, which is called Altura, which is about £20 a bottle. So they've done their own appellation system. But then winemaker is extremely good, Mario Gessi. He's the top winemaker in Chile. And I do think that his Cabernet is absolutely fabulous. This is 45% aged in French oak for 8 months, and then the remainder in stainless steel. And you can imagine this wine with a large, juicy steak. It's very rich, very full-bodied. Oh, Simon, you're down here. I've just spotted you.
Been here all the time, don't worry.
You've moved. You were up here.
Obviously, the next thing I was going to say, instead of cheese and wine tasting, maybe we should have steak and wine tasting.
Yes, they do every different style of steak.
I'd be up for that. Not okay for the vegetarians, but hey.
Not good for the vegetarians, no. But I think a cheese tasting would be absolutely fabulous for winter. I think it would be very, very good. Or champagne and white wine, fizz and white wine with smoked salmon. So there's lots of options. But I think this Cabernet is very good. It's very blackcurranty. It's very rich. It's very structured. The Cabernet grape has got a very thick, dark skin. So you get that lovely tannin, structure, richness, and lovely concentration. It's a wonderful wine.
It is very concentrated. Totally blackcurranty.
And this is £7 a bottle.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Wow, there you go. Beats above its station. It's a lovely wine, isn't it? It's very, very clean. The lovely thing about Casa Silva is all their wines are very fruit driven. And I've told you to go and visit the Loire and Burgundy, but I definitely think that you should go and visit Chile because it is seriously beautiful. They have their own little hotel, boutique hotel. They have their own polo team. So they've got their own polo grounds with a club. And the experience is wonderful, and they have about 3 restaurants actually on site at the vineyards. The family are completely delightful. They're very understated and totally Chilean, so everything is wonderfully geared towards Chile, and it's an absolutely fantastic experience.
Yeah, you're not until you actually say.
So wonderful with that Conte cheese or the cheddar. Or if you're cutting up little slices of steak.
No, Stilton.
Or Stilton, yeah, it'll definitely stand up to
Very
Stilton.
good Stilton.
And also these lovely big reds from the New World, they do stand up to spicy cuisine as well.
They do.
They stand up to Indian food.
It's another surprise.
Yeah, we've got curry later, so yeah.
This would be perfect, absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Did I miss the price? Could you give us a price on the?
It's £7 a bottle.
Oh, wonderful!
Was that 17 or 70?
7.
That's too cheap.
I'll put it up if you want. I'll
Only
put
after
17.
Only after I've purchased. When were you last in Chile?
I was there in November last year.
Well, you're slightly torturing us with these stories of how wonderful it is to be in Chile.
Yeah, Chile's fantastic. There's so much diversity because if you do go there for a holiday, you can go up to the Atacama Desert. You can go down to the lakes in Patagonia. Mario Pablo and the Silva family have a vineyard that they just purchased in Patagonia, where they're making fabulous Pinot Noir, Sauvignon Blanc, and Riesling. They're making a fantastic Riesling. It's called Lago Ranco. And the vineyards just go down to this lake in Patagonia. And then obviously the main wine area is called Colchagua, and it's absolutely beautiful. And everything in Chile is hand picked, so all their grapes are hand harvested.
It sounds like you should be making a BBC4 documentary about this.
Perhaps I'll become a travel agent as well.
Julie, this has been fantastic, and I'm amazed at the low cost of some of these delicious wines. So, you know, obviously I shall be getting drunk more often, I think.
Well, that is the aim of the game.
Thank you so much. Really exciting.
It is
We're
wonderful.
we're hoping that wine is the vaccine for COVID-19, basically. I saw a comedian say, and he
was excellent. It was the Liverpool comedian.
On the taste,
It's the test.
Wine.
It's the test.
So it should be the test.
John Thingy.
John from Liverpool, he said, what was it? We've got real problems with the tests.
Yes.
But if you can smell and you can taste. And what did he say? So he smelt the wine and drank the wine.
Yes,
and
that's
said,
right.
and of course, what you've got to remember is you've got to do lots of these tests.
Yes.
And yesterday, I did 45 of these tests.
He was so funny, wasn't he? So I'm hoping it'll boost our trade now.
Exactly.
Smelling and tasting our wines.
Say, by the way, Gorgonzola with this.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, yes, it would be. It's a very rich wine, this.
So, what are people's top two?
Good question, Stuart.
I tell you my top two.
There's a surprise.
Number 4 would be one.
My top two were the Cantenac, which I thought was a superb wine.
Yeah.
But £16 a bottle is good for that. And the other one, my great surprise, which I mentioned before, was the white Chilean wine.
Okay, brilliant.
So those were my top two.
You're going very expensive on the red, and then you're going reasonably priced on the white.
Yeah, it's a balance.
And
There's a balance, exactly.
Several more times this evening
yes,
as well.
I will.
But both the Chilean for me, I have to say, both white and red. So we'll go Chile.
You'll go Chile, brilliant.
Yeah.
You won't die of a heart attack then, because the Chilean reds are very good for heart.
Even better.
We're evaluating holiday to Chile. Yeah, we're definitely going to go to Chile, whatever.
Is that heart attack comment a guarantee?
Yeah, totally.
People are joining
us.
Only if you buy 100 cases from me.
Yes, Julie, I was going to ask, are you a trained medical professional?
In wine.
I think we'd go French on the white, and the Chilean red is incredibly good value.
Yeah, it is.
I would say. I think we're very happy with the red Chilean wine.
Yeah.
I thought they were all very good. I have to say, I thought the Fume was amazing.
Yes.
The Château Cantenac, I thought was also amazing. How many of these wines are on the club wine list at the moment? They're not all on the club wine list.
I don't think any of them are actually. I've got about 6 or 7 wines on the club wine list, but not one of these.
Can we shoot the wine committee? And where's Simon? Why are all these
Don't
wines?
shoot Simon, he's in the corner.
I mean, these wines are absolutely superb. Why are they not on the wine list? And who do we need to shoot to get them on there?
It's not Simon's fault, may I say. Simon takes careful notes and adds up the scores, but doesn't make the choices. I think maybe he should, but I agree with you. No, very good. May I just share a story? You can hear me with the red wine. When I was a serving circuit judge, we used to have what we called tea time seminars, which really had very little to do with tea time, but we'd have a talk or two, and we had a doctor give a talk one evening, and he told us that red wine was very good for our hearts. So afterwards, when we adjourned, everybody eschewed the white wine and went for the red, enthusiastically.
Yes.
He said it was good for our hearts. So I have to say that I think that the Chilean red was really wonderful, and I think it's good for the heart.
It is very good for the heart. Well, all red wines are good for your heart.
I have
what about statins and drink red wine?
What about rosé? That's like the middle part.
I don't know about rosé, but
is rosé still really naff because it's our summer drink?
It is. Rosés are wonderful. Provence, I love Provence rosé.
Yeah.
They're wonderful.
Good. Okay, so I'm not completely naffed by having rosé.
No, I drink loads of rosé in the summer.
Yeah, it's a summer drink though, isn't it?
It is. Yes, it is. But it's wonderful.
Yeah, my daughter and I were like on the rosé in the summer.
Yeah.
It got to sort of like the end of August, beginning of September, and I said, well, that's the end of the rosé. My daughter, who's 21, was like, no, I'm still going to drink it. She didn't care.
You're going to carry on drinking rosé. Rosé is wonderful, though. The Provence rosés are delicious.
Provence, okay, make
No, we know that. We know that, Joe.
I know that.
Definitely.
Can I say how lovely and tremendous value the Chilean wines are? They're absolutely lovely. But I think the ones that I've drunk this evening, which are even better, dare I say, the Pouilly and the Cantenac. I think those were just.
Oh, they're very good. Yes,
really,
they're at the top of the spectrum. Yeah, they're very good.
Julie, can I ask? I'm curious that you were able to find so many good wines for a tasting like this in half bottles. I wonder how difficult that was, and how many wines you have available in half bottles.
Well, we have another set. I have 2 sets basically. I have run dry. One club has now done 4 tastings with me, so I've now had to put them onto full bottles. But it doesn't make the price any more expensive of the tickets. So it's just that some people live on their own and they don't want to have a full bottle, obviously. But yes, I mean we have 2 sets that I can do, 2 sets of tastings, and then we have to. You have more scope if you use full bottles, and actually, if you have pumps, full bottles can actually last anyway for a couple of days. So it is possible to do full bottles. But you can only have 6 people around. The 7th's going to have coronavirus.
Oh, God. I had an aged maiden aunt. We used to give her 6 half bottles of champagne every Christmas, and she just loved that, because when you live on your own, you won't open a full bottle of champagne for a whatever. But you know, if she had one friend that came round, she could open a half bottle of champagne, and it was a real treat. So it worked really well.
Well, I give my mother the half bottles of Chablis. She has cases of the halves of Chablis.
Yeah.
Every day.
Of course, Julie, we know that champagne is best served in a magnum or larger.
Yes. If you have lots of people to celebrate, yeah.
We have also given those as gifts, but you know, you can't do that often.
No. The half bottles are very useful, actually. I think more people
really
put
are.
half bottles on lists, because actually they are very useful. I went to a restaurant a couple of weeks ago and they didn't have any half bottles, and actually I thought, oh, because it was lunchtime and we only wanted 1 glass or 1.5 glasses, and a half bottle is perfect for that. But people are either doing them by the glass and charging exorbitant prices, but they're not doing half bottles so much.
I recommend half bottles as presents for anyone who's having a baby. A half bottle for a nursing mother. Perfect.
Exactly.
We will take that on board.
Thank you.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean,
about the baby?
The half bottle, I think, is, you know, so I shouldn't say it's a National Liberal Club thing, but, you know, the Reform does good half bottles and the National Liberal does good half bottles, but they are, you don't see them enough. And you know, if you're having lunch and you're on your own, all you want is a half bottle.
Yes, it's quite enough actually.
There could be just more half bottles available.
Oh, there you go. So I've got lots of half bottles for you.
A half bottle is certainly underrated.
I wonder if I might. I wonder if I might put in a vote for the full bottle. Nonetheless, I think that it's been a really excellent tasting, and I do want to thank you for putting these together for us. And I particularly want to suggest that if the club list doesn't include some of these, then there might have to be a minority report. Very tasty. But otherwise, I almost think that I'm already looking forward to the next half bottle, or possibly even full bottle selection. But I think these home tastings, okay, they may not suit everyone, but I do think these home tastings, that while we can't all meet in these circumstances, are a really nice way to catch up with colleagues and also to learn something new today. So can I say, Julie, thank you very much for what you've put into this.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for listening to me.
I agree.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming to my tasting, and hopefully you'll come to the December one.
Yeah.
Yeah. December, right.
No pressure, Simon.
We're clearing diaries as you speak.
Well, if the lockdown carries on, we won't be doing very much anyway, will we?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Julie.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Simon, too.
Have a good evening and enjoy your dinner with the wine.
And also,
Thank you, Julie.
Cheese and wine tasting
Yeah,
before
thank you
Christmas.
very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Wine tasting before Christmas.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
And thank you, Simon, for hosting.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank
Well
you,
done.
Simon.
No, thank
Well
you.
done, Simon. Good hosting.
Simon.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Simon.
You're not drinking, Simon. Drinking.
The only one standing at the National Liberal Club at the moment. Everyone's at home.
It's been excellent, and thank you so much for your knowledge and personal experience of the vineyards that you visited. It's been really fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
Simon's
for coming.
not drinking.
Keep drinking. You won't have any more coronavirus.
Cheers.
Cheers.